What's up? Hey, hello, everyone. Wow. So today we are back talking about Survivor Season 50, Episode 7, the 14-person vote at Tribal Council. Historic. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and sure was a historic vote. There were so many people, and I think I made a joke last week of I'm not sure I could even name who all is still left in the game. So kudos to them for organizing a vote under those circumstances, because I feel like trying to remember where everyone's vote is going when your tribal council is that big, just wild.
Very hectic, as we see with this entire episode. So we start this episode off where Tiffany is mad from being blindsided about the Camilla vote. It is nighttime and she is very, very peeved off. She does a Mean Girls reference here and says that Jonathan is in her burn book and that he is a skink.
I love that. I feel like I love when people are bitter, but bitter in the fun way, where Tiffany crashing out was good television. And I also loved that she vowed revenge, just because we need a little revenge arc. We need a revenge plot.
It's good drama. So that's good. So we'll have to see if she's able to pull it off.
Yeah. I'm not sure if she will be, especially given her edits so far has been, I would say, very inconsistent. So I would be very curious if she suddenly pulled off a big blindside or something.
I could definitely see maybe Tiffany outlasting like Jonathan, but I would think that maybe Jonathan's ouster wouldn't be because of Tiffany.
Yeah, I could see that happening too. Though I have heard people saying that Jonathan's getting a winner's edit, which I'm not sure I believe. But I feel like he's definitely getting a better edit this season than he did the first season that he played, as far as showing him as something more than just a meathead.
Yeah, last week I was like, oh, Jonathan might be rising in the ranks here. I feel like this week maybe it was a little bit too negative feeling. I don't know. I felt like last week he had a really good episode.
Yeah, I feel like last week he definitely did have a really good episode. And so it's kind of hard to compare this episode to that, just because it's there was no way this episode was going to be as good for him as last episode.
So I thought it was cool getting to see everyone's reactions when the different teams of people came back to camp at nighttime and they're like, oh, who was voted out? Oh no, like X person was voted out. I liked seeing those reactions.
Yeah, I love seeing everyone's reactions to previous people.
And especially Rizzo and Ozzy's reactions when they came back the next day and they're like, dang, it's a good thing I missed this because this was wild. I'm glad I was at Exile.
Yeah, I was gonna say missing that triple vote out carnage, I feel like could only be a good thing.
Definitely. So we see Jonathan is mad at Dee still for voting Charlie out, and Dee is mad at Jonathan for voting Camilla out. We see Coach and Dee fighting with or like them fighting and Jonathan and Dee fighting at the start of the episode, but apparently that all of this fighting was right before tribal council, which does make a lot more sense because the vote ended up being like between Coach and Dee. Because watching this, I was like, why are they all fighting with Dee? Like, this is not good. Like, Jonathan and Coach need to chill. They don't need to fight with her, but it makes more sense the way the vote came down that they're all fighting later on.
Yeah, I kind of wish that they wouldn't move things around like that, cuz I understand that they were doing it to tell a more coherent story, but also I feel like learning after the fact of oh, this didn't actually happen when we thought it happened makes it difficult to then trust anything that they show us ever.
On the rewatch, it definitely does give like typical edit for D going home because we have them fighting at the start. People want to vote D out. D gets the confessional right before the commercial break, like, oh, I'm glad I can participate in the immunity portion of this challenge. Maybe I can win it. Doesn't win it and then gets voted out. I feel like it's always one of two ways where that person then goes to win the immunity, so they're safe and they can't get voted out, or they lose and then they get voted out. So on the rewatch, I feel like there's a way less suspense. It just felt like a very typically edited episode.
Yeah, I feel like I got spoiled before I had the chance to watch the episode, and like knowing who went home, I was like, oh, this is a very classic arc for that.
I thought it was funny seeing everyone's faces listening to the Coach Jonathan versus D fight. Everyone's like, come here, let's listen, but like, don't act like you're listening in. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny too.
So, Jonathan in confessional says that he was purposefully trying to instigate D. Last week we talked about this where I feel like Jonathan just comes off as like himbo energy. I feel like now that he is doing these things, that maybe he's losing the facade of the himbo energy.
Yeah, I feel like he definitely is coming off more intelligent and less himbo. So, don't know what you have to say about that, but
Because last week we were thinking maybe he can pull off a move like this, then you fade back into the background and make it like, oh, this was a I don't know, blip in the himbo energy, and then you go back into it. But now it just seems like, okay, the facade is up and it is coming out that he's playing the game hard, and people are maybe mad about that.
yeah, I think, like you said, he's been too consistently smart to be like, oh, haha, I just stumbled into the correct move. But I'm not sure if people will be mad. I feel like people will be impressed and also threatened. So I think he'll have to learn some threat management skills really quickly because being a threat as like a physical threat and being a threat as a strategic threat, I feel like are considered very differently.
I agree. So now he's a double threat because he is very big in stature and its individual immunity portions. Although he hasn't really won that many individual immunities compared to other people, but he's still very, very large compared to everyone else. So that is threatening. And then if you add that, the athletic ability to a potential smart strategic ability, double threat now.
I saw someone on Reddit be like, why does Jonathan not um simply eat the other contestants as his strategy? Because he is large enough that he would be able to eat everyone else. So,
I don't think that
and yeah,
was in Boston Rob's teachings.
yeah, probably not. But Boston Rob also isn't large enough to be able to eat everyone else. So maybe he didn't think to teach Jonathan that.
It's the new innovative strategy.
I guess so.
So we'll have to see if Jonathan continues on the like smart strategic arc or can he fade back into the background. Tiffany seems to have it out for Jonathan and Coach now, so they might have an axe to grind going forward.
Which would be so fun. Again, I want more people to have axes that they are grinding. I want more people to be unhinged.
And we could potentially have it because Coach basically tells everyone I won't let you win the game, slash, you won't win the game unless you play with honor, unless you're not lying to people. Everyone else is like, what are you talking about? Seems like Coach is maybe annoying to other people. I thought it was funny. Emily's like, this is so ironic. I should just call him out for it. I don't care if it gets me voted out. I want to call him out. I was like, yeah, you should. This would be funny.
Yeah, I feel like maybe people wouldn't be as like annoyed with the whole coach thing if coach was playing with anything resembling honor for himself, but I feel like he's not really, and so people are kind of like why are you lecturing me when you're not even like doing what you're pretending to be doing, you know?
Like Emily said, rules for thee, but not for me. That is so true. You can't lecture everyone else on how to play if you are not doing that same kind of mindset, I feel like, because then people will just be a little bit peeved off at you.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like Coach has been playing the same game that he's always been playing, and so I'm kind of like, where's the learning? Where's the growth of any sort?
He didn't have Boston Rob helping him out.
Yeah, I feel like everyone needs a private Boston Rob tutoring session, though. Also, Boston Rob took a lot of tries to win as well. So should we be listening to him?
Need a
Questionable.
coach that was like 1 for 1, 1 for 2, 2 for
Yeah.
3.
I mean, Tiffany could have had a coach that was 1 for 1, and she and Kenzie are really close. I'm just saying.
Honestly, probably did. I feel like here Emily should do this for the plot and should have called him out like she called Bruce out. Just do it for the television bit.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been fun. We should have done it for the plot.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week.
So we see Coach invites Rizzo into the Four Horsemen Alliance, which consists of Coach, Joe, Jonathan, and Colby. But since Colby got eliminated last week, Rizzo gets to be the fourth person here. I thought this was interesting because Rizzo wasn't even there. Rizzo was at Exile with Ozzy all last episode. How does he have so much Riz to even get invited into this alliance already? Like he just met Coach at the beach merging last week. He didn't have any tribe swaps with him or OG tribe with him. So how did he get invited into this already?
I feel like it's just that they wanted someone to fill the seat and they thought Rizzo would say yes.
I was also
That's
thinking
my take on it.
similarly, because there's like no more men. He's not going to invite Ozzy because Ozzy and Coach have the beef. There's not going to invite Rick or Christian. It's like what other men are left? Only Rizzo.
I mean, basically, yeah.
So Rizzo's like, I'm just replacing Colby here. I don't want to be in this alliance. But he says yes, so that is good. You always have to say yes if someone is offering you something. But as we know, as viewers, Rizzo is a girl's girl and he does not want to work with men. So if they saw 49 or even the first few episodes of 50 where Rizzo's like, yeah, no, I hate men, then they would know this wouldn't work out.
Rizzo is a feminist. Everyone should jot that down.
Yeah, so this could maybe come to bite them because Rizzo is the unknown player this season. They don't know that Rizzo said rather work with women. So I don't think that Rizzo will really be in this Four Horsemen alliance, but I think they'll fake it if the Coach alliance does become like popular.
Yeah. So we'll have to see about that. But I feel like it's always good to be in multiple alliances, even if you're not really wanting to work with all of them, just because that'll be fewer people who are going to be saying your name.
I do wonder if they have like a different named alliance for them plus Stephanie plus Chrissy. Because it does seem odd that they invite Rizzo, and if it's only because it's called Horsemen, that like Rizzo gets the invite. What's their larger alliance called?
Um, the horse people,
Yeah,
obviously.
the Zoom Alliance and the Horseman Alliance.
Yeah.
So we see the Cerie Rizzo Ozzy Alliance get a name, and they are Cerie's Wizard of Oz Alliance. So they all get their name in there. Maybe Coach's Alliance shouldn't have four in the number, so then it wouldn't seem like you're the last person invited. Cerie's Wizard of Oz, you got all of them equally included.
I will say the Wizard of Oz is kind of funny. Sari posted like an AI image of like her as Dorothy and then Ozzy as the lion and Rizzo as the Tin Man. So now I'm kind of like, who's going to be their scarecrow? And I feel like it has to be Jonathan since they were complaining about him being brainless.
Ah. I did see Cerie's post and I thought it was cute. And I thought the comments were also fun on there. And yeah, maybe they can invite more people and make them the other characters from Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of characters in The Wizard of Oz. So Wicked is having a moment too. So you could do damage with that idea, is all I'm saying.
Except if you invite someone new in, they might feel left out unless their name too can be in the Alliance name.
Well, you could just say that it's the Wizard of Oz and be like, oh, ha ha, I didn't even realize Ozzy and Oz. Like, you can lie. She should lie to them.
Yeah, you're in the Wizard Alliance and not the Riz God Alliance.
Yes.
So, speaking of Rizzo, Emily tells Rizzo that she heard that he had an idol from D. And this shows you still cannot tell Emily anything because she's always spilling the beans about every single thing. This makes Rizzo realize, like, oh shoot, D is spilling my secret. Maybe I can't trust her as much.
I I seriously question if Emily Flippin is like good at Survivor because I feel like the first time she played, she was not good at Survivor, but she was not good at Survivor in a very different way than she is not good at Survivor now. And I'm kind of like, what what are you doing, Emily Flippin? Like, how is one this bad at Survivor in two separate ways?
How would you describe the two separate ways?
Well, the first time she was bad at Survivor because she was too like blunt with people and didn't know. Well, now that I'm saying it out loud, I'm like, she didn't know how to hold her tongue. But I feel like she didn't know how to hold her tongue about like personal matters, and now she doesn't know how to hold her tongue about strategy matters.
Hmm. So, sort of similar, but sort of different in a way.
Yeah. I feel like before she didn't really know how she was perceived by other people. And I feel like she knows how she's perceived now. It's just that how she's perceived now isn't good.
I do find it interesting because in the Blood on the Clock Tower games that they all play online, I think they've said that Emily is the most winningest person out of all of them. And she plays sort of similar in that game as Survivor. So apparently, sometimes what she does, like the spilling of the beans, maybe works in Blood on the Clock Tower. So I was thinking it's like bleeding into this game, and then maybe it'll just work out for her like it does for the other game.
But Blood on the Clock Tower is not Survivor.
But I feel like if it's semi luck based, where things just work out for her, I think she'll fall into having things work out for her.
That's true. But not everyone can be the best at everything and have great luck all the time.
Just like, did you see Emily tripped and then like had to fake like she was just walking regularly?
Yeah.
So that's what it reminds me of.
Oh, Emily.
And I feel like the editors like I guess like you technically didn't need that in there, but like it like helped to show that she was walking up to the Rizzo group and then the D stuff came up. I said, dang, they're really doing her dirty by having like she's smiling, looking cute, walking over, fake like trips, and then had to it's like she didn't just trip like on grass.
Yeah, they did. They kind of made her seem sad.
So I feel like this does feel bad though, because I feel like Emily telling Rizzo this information felt like the nail in the coffin for Dee going home. Because to me, if the Cerise Wizard of Oz group was on Dee's side, I feel like they could have flipped people and had enough numbers, 8 people at least, to have the numbers to save Dee. Because you'd have the three of them, Dee, Tiffany, and if they've got that many, I'm sure Emily still goes with Dee's group because they know each other. And then with Emily, maybe you have Christian and Rick also going there. I feel like they could have saved Dee, but because of this, it just led to the Rizzo people not going with Dee. Then there's nothing really Emily can do.
Yeah. So, hmm, feels bad for Dee. I feel like she like there was a good chance she was going home anyway, but like you said, this was kind of the last nail that made it like, okay, she's definitely going home. There's not really a lot she can do to worm her way out of it.
More unsavable compared to maybe if the beans weren't spilled and you still had Rizzo, maybe you have Rizzo fighting for you and Emily fighting for you. Now you just have like Tiffany fighting for you, and that's not going to do anything.
Yeah. D is the winner who made it the furthest in this game, though. So I feel like if nothing else, she has that going for her. She can say that she is the winningest winner.
That's true. And then maybe you asked Rick also, but like, oh, Kyle got medevaced. Savannah had a huge disadvantage for nobody knowing her. So it just sucks all around for the three winners. They shouldn't have had any winners. They're all at a disadvantage here.
I was gonna say having only one winner per tribe also I feel like put them at a big disadvantage, but
Yeah.
oh well.
So
They already have
Stephanie
$1 million.
won a million more. So Stephanie gets sent onto the journey here. This is the Parvati challenge. I'm surprised they didn't mention this. I feel like this is like a famous Parvati thing where you have to hold your hand above your head for here an hour to win an advantage. Otherwise, you lose your vote. I feel like they shouldn't have told them that it was only an hour you have to wait. I feel like it would have been more mentally stressful, stimulating if they didn't tell you and maybe you were trying to do math based on the water buckets dropping, flowing out, and then you're like, "Oh, how long is this compared to an hour?" You can easily like sort of guesstimate.
Yeah, for an hour you can like count to however much in your head. So I feel like definitely shouldn't have told them that. But also I get why they did because it's kind of like for the viewer, I feel like it's not as interesting if you know it's already going to be if it's only going to be an hour and like they don't know. Like I don't always like it when the viewer has information that the um players don't. And I also kind of don't like it. I'm glad that they at least had an upfront thing cuz if I feel like there would have been a lot of allegations of like production interfering of like, oh, they decided to like let the bucket down quicker or something if there hadn't been like a defined like, oh, it's only going to be an hour. But
Mm, I guess hard to tell. Maybe I guess. I feel like with hourglasses, then that maybe might be harder to manipulate because the sand is however much is in there compared. But I feel like the water would flow out at the same rate. You can't really change that.
yeah, I guess so, but also I feel like watching the traders has given me like absolutely zero faith in whenever they're like, oh, such and such amount of time has elapsed, because I'm like, how do I know that you're not just manipulating this? Like, you know what I mean?
I feel like they're always lying on that show. Every single challenge comes down to like 10 seconds. And I'm like, there's no way. All of these are in the last minutes. And then the person runs over the finish line with 5 seconds left. Like, that feels so fake.
They could lie on Survivor too. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, so Stephanie gets a flashback scene to her dislocated shoulder, so she has to use her other arm. Seems like Stephanie didn't really talk at all during the challenge. It was all voiceovers throughout the entire thing, which is like, okay, it makes sense because she needs to concentrate. But I feel like this was sort of boring to watch because it was all just narrated after the fact. There was nothing in the moment like, oh, this hurts so bad, or I wish I could do XYZ. It was all like, this really hurts. It's worse than childbirth after the fact, which I feel like is less impactful than if she said it in the moment.
Yeah, I think part of that might be like when you're in your mind palace, you want to just be in your mind palace. You don't want to have to be narrating your stuff out loud. And then also, just I do wonder like whether or not it was actually that hard for her. Like, I've never dislocated my shoulder, so I don't know how permanent of an injury that is. But it would be interesting to like have someone say like, "Oh yeah, when you dislocate your shoulder, like it is a permanent injury." Even something that happened like Heroes versus Villains was like 15 years ago at this point, like could still make it so that you permanently wouldn't be able to hold your hand above the head that long. So, just curious about that.
Yeah, to me, it just felt like a Big Brother challenge narration where it's like, oh, I walked up, my arm hurt, XYZ. I feel like it'd be more interesting. At least, talk for 5 minutes and they can stretch that out to give you the 5 to 10 minute segment of you at the journey rather than having it all be voiceovers. I just thought the whole segment was really not that interesting to watch. You need someone like Christian there where you can splice voiceover and his live commentary, even if it's stupid stuff of like, oh, like this is a random fact or a random thing that I'm thinking of. Splicing that with narration voiceover, I feel like is way more interesting to watch.
Yeah. I feel like part of that is though like some people like Christian are the more like natural storytellers, whereas I feel like Stephanie is more old school in the sense of like she wasn't really ever someone who like hammed it up for confessionals the way that I feel like Christian did.
We need the people out there that want more screen time. Give us the fake soundbite for you doing the challenge.
Yeah, they could all just give their best Stephanie impression.
So Stephanie wins the steal a vote here. She goes back to camp. I thought she had a pretty good lie where she says 30 minutes is you get to keep your vote, 1 hour means you get an advantage, but I could only do it for the 30 minutes. Suri is like, this is a lie. Stephanie's so fit and active. No way she couldn't do it for an hour. Then we see Stephanie, Suri walking together, and Suri is just like, I believe you. And then Stephanie tells her she got the steal a vote.
I feel like if I were Stephanie, I would really ham up the dislocated shoulder thing
Yeah.
and be like, "Oh, they told me that like I had to use my dominant arm, so I ended up having to do it with my dislocated shoulder and I just like I couldn't do it for that long with this like old injury that I have." Especially because like Sari was there when Stephanie dislocated her shoulder. So,
And maybe she did and it was edited out, but I agree. I feel like if you hammed up the injury more, then it would be more believable that you couldn't last an hour, especially if you just won the last immunity challenge where you had to do endurance. Like, this is obviously different endurance, but I'd be like, she's really good at endurance. There's no way she couldn't win this.
yeah. But I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
So then Suri tells Rizzo about the steal a boat, which I thought was funny because Stephanie's like, don't tell anyone. And then Suri tells her husband.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, you can't be forced to testify against your spouse in a court of law. That that's real, right? That's not something that people made up for movies.
Yeah, I think in certain situations,
Yeah,
yes.
so it's basically the same thing where like you can tell your husband or your wife anything because they can't testify against you. They also can't, ruin things for you.
Or it's like the meme of girls gossiping, then it's like, okay, you say don't tell anyone, but the girls will tell their partner because that doesn't count because the guy is one of the girls.
Yes, exactly.
So Suri says she told Rizzo because she wants to build more trust and alliance relationship with him. So it does seem like Suri's Wizard of Oz is pretty strong.
Yeah, that alliance just keeps on getting stronger, I feel like. And I think it's good for all involved for now.
I agree. But I feel like they can't go to the end. together and or with Suri at least. I do think it's interesting because it does seem like Rizzo, it's like, wow, Rizzo's playing such a good game. But then I've heard other people say, like, everyone wants to play with Rizzo because they think they can beat him. So that means the game isn't so good. And I was like, oh, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I also am curious how accurate it is.
Yeah, because I feel like right now from the edit, we're not really seeing Rizzo as someone who couldn't get votes at the end. Maybe compared to last season, we saw Rizzo more as someone that couldn't get votes because of all of his idol antics. Maybe people didn't respect him. But maybe now too, because everyone is way older and Rizzo's the youngest person on the cast, maybe they're just like, yeah, let's bring this kid to the end because he won't get any votes just because he's the new person here.
He might also be seen as someone who's likable but not strategic, with the assumption of like, oh, on Survivor 50, you're going to want to vote for someone who's like very strategic and also someone who's like an older school person. I feel like in something
Yeah.
celebrating the like 50 years of Survivor, you're not going to vote for the kid who was just in season 49.
That's how I feel too. It seems like you would want to vote for someone who is a legend or revered. So it'll be interesting. Like, can he shake that underestimation, shake that like stereotype?
I would be very interested to see that, but we'll have to see.
Time will tell. So we get to the immunity and the reward challenge. They are split into two teams of seven. They have to do the big boulder tasks and obstacles, and then they do a puzzle in order to win food, where the winning team then goes to compete for individual immunity. They were pretty close on the puzzles, only a few pieces apart, so it was pretty stressful at the end there.
Yeah, I feel like the caliber of puzzle players, so like the fact that there are so many puzzle people, makes the puzzles a lot more interesting because I feel like there are definitely some times where like it's obvious when someone gets to the puzzle, like, oh, this person's definitely going to win because they're just a much superior puzzle person. So it's always really nice to see two people who are, or I guess more than two people, but I mostly was thinking about like Chrissy and Christian as like the people who are always doing puzzles, and they are like pretty evenly matched, I would say.
Yeah, and then on opposite sides of the puzzle here, I feel like if the Chrissy coach group got up just the slightly faster, then maybe they could have won because they're really only like 2 to 3 pieces behind there at the end. So maybe if they got up the boulder slightly quicker.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe they worked faster because they were behind, and that was what inspired them to go so fast.
A speed boost. So we get to the immunity portion of the challenge. It is another endurance challenge. You have to balance a ball on a long pole while standing on a balance beam. I feel like this team, it was a schoolyard pick, but they somehow got all of the really, really good challenge people. It was Rick, Joe, Ozzy, Dee, Stephanie, Christian, Emily, where a lot of these people are winners and like have records and stuff like that. And then Stephanie, Christian, and Dee all won individual immunity last week. And then Christian and Emily are really good at puzzles. So it's like whoever the team captain for this one picked really well, but maybe that hurts you in the individual immunity portion.
I really want to know like who the other team captain was and like what the strategy was in their head to not have picked any of these people who are like so good at challenges.
I do wish we would see the schoolyard picks because I agree. Like, I think Jonathan was the challenge, like the head of the other team. And then, so is it Jonathan gets to pick everyone, or it's like Jonathan picks a woman, the woman picks a man? Is it switching by gender? And that's how they got the groups. But I agree. I'm like, you didn't get any of the three winners from last week, and you've got like Rick who won 4 individual immunity challenges. Ozzy's winning a bunch. Joe has won, like tied the record. I'm like, dang, they got all the good people on this team.
Yeah. Who knows?
So for the final four standing on this individual immunity portion, we've got Joe versus Stephanie versus Ozzy versus Dee. And then they are battling it out at the end there.
Yeah, I always love a good battle, especially like we said, between people who are all good at the game and like good at this kind of challenge. Because I feel like sometimes the like people who get to go for the individual immunity is kind of like, mm, I'm not sure that like a certain person ever had a chance.
Yeah, so once D dropped, it's like, okay, this is not looking too good for her. But Ozzy wins individual immunity. And if he wins one more time, Jeff was saying what he wins or has won 10 total.
Hmm. I think I saw on Reddit also that Ozzy is now one of the few people to have won individual immunity in 3 different seasons. I think the other people were Andrea Belkey, Boston Rob. Ugh, there were like I think 3 other people who had done it, other than Andrea, Rob, and Ozzy. So I thought that was pretty cool. Another like bit of Survivor history.
And especially impressive because Ozzy's games are so spread apart. It's not like, oh, you're 22, then you're 24, then you're 28. You're like, okay, really young and now like middle-aged. So it's like, dang, good for Ozzy, still winning it.
Yeah, I also think like the whole thing about the like winning on 3 separate seasons is you have to get to the individual immunity portion of the season in order to like make it so you can have that record.
True. So have to keep an eye out to see if he can, I guess, get to the 10 immunity wins. And that's also a new record, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. I don't think we get any points for that in the bracketology. They need to add points for these kinds of things.
I was going to say the things that you do and don't get points for in your fantasy game really confuses me.
Yeah. So it's big app though. Like the Survivor, I don't know. It's like maybe 20,000 people are in the big bracket. There's a lot of people.
That's wild.
Yeah. So we see Coach saying after Ozzy wins that it needs to be 7 people on D and 4 people on Tiffany for this vote. So what's that? 11. So 3 people are being left out, which I guess
And
only became D and Tiffany being left out. Who is the other person they didn't want in there?
yeah, I
Christian?
was going to say leaving out 3 people when you need 11 out of 14. Obviously, those two are obvious, but I wonder how they chose who else they were going to leave out.
Yeah, and then we see Coach telling everyone who to vote for, basically, and then sort of giving people options. And then we see people like, oh, I don't want to vote Tiffany. Can I put my name, like, put name for D? And then Coach is like, no, because then everyone will just vote D. No one's going to vote Tiffany. So you need to vote Tiffany too. It's like, oh, this isn't too good because now you're coming off as really bossy.
Especially because, like, I don't know. I feel like it's also really bossy if someone doesn't like the decoy to then kind of shove in, like, nope, Tiffany has to be the decoy. So I feel like if a lot of your alliance members are saying, like, oh, I don't like this decoy option, like, you have another person you're leaving out of the vote. You could just leave them out.
Yeah, and it's also like, okay, people don't want to write Tiffany down because Tiffany would theoretically come back to camp and then she might be mad at you for writing her name down, kind of thing. So I guess that makes sense. We see Stephanie saying she doesn't want to write Tiff down because she likes Tiffany. So I guess that makes sense also. Oh, but it's just like, okay, it's interesting because there's 14 people, and so now all of the numbers are very complicated, but I do think specifically saying 7 versus 4 seems too much.
Yeah, making it 7 versus 4 just like it confuses me why it has to be those specific numbers.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because 7, I don't know, it wouldn't be like 7 versus 7. because all we won't have that many on one side kind of thing. But Rick tells Christian that Coach said Christian is flippy floppy. Then Coach is mad that Christian got told this and got told that it's a 7 versus 4 split. And then I thought this was funny because Coach is mad about this. Then Rick walks up, and then Coach is like, "I need to know who told Christian."
I feel like it's one of those things where if you don't want this information to get back to the person you're talking about, like, why even say that? Like, that could have been an inside thought.
I guess. And then it's just like seems like a bad read because you would assume that Christian and Rick are together, so you can't tell Rick this, which we do see Rizzo call Coach out on, saying like you can't tell Rick about the middle people when Rick is a middle person, like you can't say that. So maybe it's just a bad read for not seeing that like Rick is close with Christian. And so then you can't really tell him things about Christian because then he would say stuff to him.
Yeah, I don't know how good Coach's social game is where he would like notice those sorts of things. So,
Mm. I thought Rizzo was funny too, telling Coach he needs to chill out, and then also saying, like, we slay dragons at camp, or we slay dragons at tribal, we don't slay dragons at camp. And I was like, this is great. That should have been the title of the episode. Make it a really long title.
yeah, they're starting to have the Fallout Boy titles of the episodes. But
Oh,
yeah,
my love.
I do think it's really funny when someone who's only played one other time is like giving the like grizzled old vet the like survivor strategy talk.
And Rizzo's like, what are these people doing? They're all like you're saying, super vets and like seasoned on this show. Why are they spilling the beans? And Rizzo has to tell you to chill out? That's wild.
Yeah. I guess they don't know that like, oh, it's wild to have Rizzo to tell you to chill out. Unless they're thinking about it and like this is the new guy, but
So
I always
funny.
wonder
I'm
what
like,
these people are thinking.
it's funny. Riz God is being Riz God, and I think he should do more of this. It's good
I feel
TV.
like he's being so much more Rizful than he was on last season. Like on 49, I was like, I don't get why he's calling himself the Riz God. And now on 50, I'm like, okay, he is rizzing people.
Maybe his like Riz category is just more older people, and then his 49 was like more people his age, like give or take 10 years. And now these people are like his parents' age, and so he can Riz them better.
That's totally a possibility.
And maybe it just comes off more charming with like the larger age gap. I feel like if you were like 35, you'd be like, this 25-year-old is really annoying.
I guess so, yeah.
So, speaking of, we see Coach making up haikus and talking to himself, and then we see people sort of like laughing at him in a way. I feel like what Coach needs to do is play this up and then go to Final Tribal Council and say, this was all an act. I actually love lying. I'm like Camilla. I love lying. I love lying to people. I hate honor and integrity, and you should vote for me to win. But that's not going to happen. But I feel like if he did do that, then people would respect him.
I'm not sure if people would respect him. Excuse me, because I feel like they would know that it was a grift, especially because like this is the same game he's played before, where it's like people would be like, after you played like 3 other games of honor and integrity, you really want us to believe that you saw the light and were like taking us for a ride this whole time, and this isn't just a last minute tactic to make us like you better.
Maybe. I feel though if you did go to Final Tribal and you like acknowledge that you cannot play Survivor fully truthful honor integrity, then I feel like maybe people would vote for you. Like I feel like if Joe did that, then maybe people will be like, okay, he changed it up from last time. Like that's pretty cool. That's like I want to give you my vote.
Yeah, I feel like you'd have to be authentic with it, you know.
Okay, so he needs to do it and it needs to not be a lie. But if it were a lie, isn't that even better? You're actually just lying that final time about not liking lying.
This is making my brain hurt. I feel like there's too many layers of lying and truthfulness.
I feel like now Coach is low-key making himself a good goat. Like, you would want to bring him to the end because people are mad at him. People probably aren't going to vote for him at this current moment. And like, why would you'd keep him around?
Also, you don't want him poisoning the jury against you. So keeping him as your goat, I feel like, is a great way to make sure he can't do anything to make the jury mad at you.
That's even more true. I feel like they might want to vote him out because he's like very vocal, like outgoing, very outspoken, and very bossy, and then annoying people. So that would get you voted out. But I feel like now, if he just chills that and then does his talking to himself and haikus and all of the Dragon Slayer antics, but isn't like bossing people around, then I feel like you'd be like, yes, let's keep him around because he won't maybe get votes at the end unless he switches it up and says he loves lying. But if he continues like this, I feel like he wouldn't get votes at the end, so keep him around.
I feel like also, depending on how good you were at like getting coach to like you, it could be like, oh, you make coach into like your little puppet and you let him do all of the like annoying people for you, and then you're like, actually this whole time I was like telling coach what to do and I knew that you guys would all find him annoying, and so that meant that I was never a target. So
Yeah, like I feel like if he can chill out a little bit, that would be the perfect spot to be in. I feel like maybe Joe and Jonathan fall into that spot better, where it's like, okay, maybe people won't want to vote for Joe and Jonathan because of the honor integrity stuff. Like maybe Stephanie, maybe Chrissy votes for you, but that's like five people out of 11 that would be on the jury. So I guess that is technically like almost half, but I feel like there's a lot of other people that would not want to vote for that. So if you bring two of them to the end, like you sit next to Jonathan and Joe, then there's only like three honor integrity people on the jury, and then you could totally sweep because who, like D is not going to vote for honor integrity person at the end.
yeah, probably not. So yeah, I do wonder how much people are thinking about like, oh, I want to make sure that my jury isn't too much of an honor integrity jury. I want to make sure my jury is like this, that, or that. So
Yeah. So we also see people mad at Aubrey for forgetting to play her idol last time. I was sort of confused by this. I was like, okay, just because she lied or like said she was going to play the idol and then didn't play it, now everyone like dislikes her.
which is strange because I feel like it's pretty standard for people to threaten to play their idol and then never actually do it.
I agree. And then no one is on Rizzo and Ozzy's butt for keeping their idols. Is it just because I guess they were at Exile, but they didn't say I was going to play it and then like say you forgot? Maybe if Aubrey said like, yeah, I was bluffing, I didn't forget, I wanted to keep the idol, maybe that would get people off of her, but it just seems so odd that nobody cares about Rizzo and Ozzy playing their idols, but they make her flush it for no reason.
I feel like it's one of those things where some people have already decided they dislike Aubrey. And so it's like no matter what she does, they're going to dislike her anyway. So, like, double standards, I guess you could say.
That's true. I feel like Aubrey should have just kept the idol and bluff it a la Rizzo style, and then you say you're gonna play it every time, so then people are afraid to vote for you. But nobody voted for her and she flushed it. So I guess I would be intrigued to see, does this actually get the scarlet letter, as she said, off her back, or now she's like a free person to vote out because she doesn't have anything?
I was going to say, does this remove your scarlet letter or does this just make you an easy target?
Especially flushing an idol that you got gifted. Like, you don't even know if there's any real idols in this game. Like, this could be the only 3 idols total, and now there's no more.
Yeah, sure could be.
So, it just I don't know. And then for Christian and Rick too, wouldn't they want her to keep the idol so they could try to blindside her with it so Christian gets the idol back? It just seems odd all around.
Yeah. I feel like we say this a lot, but it feels like there's maybe a little bit of information missing that would make this make more sense. So we'll have to see about that.
So now truly the Billie Eilish boomerang idol. Well, not boomerang, unless they're going to put more idols into play that are boomerang idols, because Rizzo's and Ozzy's ones would go to Genevieve, but she got voted out. Aubrey played hers, so it can never boomerang to Christian again. So unfortunately, we will not get to see a boomerang.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this before, but it does make it questionable whether or not that was ever like a smart mechanic in the first place.
Yeah, I think Genevieve and her exit stuff was like, yeah, when I read the parchment, I was like, I'm never getting this idol back. Because it is so like context specific. It'd be so difficult to blindside someone with an idol for them to like you both still have to be in the game and you have to blindside them and then you get it back. It just is very hard.
And you also have to make sure that they're never in danger or feel in danger before that moment, so they never play the idol even when they're not in danger.
Yeah. Maybe it would have worked on 46.
Yeah, maybe.
But Q is gone. And Tiffany's there, but their whole idol train, maybe that inspired it.
Maybe.
So we go to tribal council. It is the most people ever at one tribal council, so that is exciting. Dee plays her shot in the dark and it does not hit.
Yeah. I this is just something I was randomly thinking about. Do you think that they like had to make extra tribal council stools because there's never been this many people needing a stool at tribal council before?
That's true. Probably. Or the stools just tree stumps? They're not like plastic, right? Are they real tree? I don't
I
really
have
look that
no
close.
clue is the thing. Like I know that they're meant to look like tree stumps, but does that make them actually tree stumps? I feel like they should auction those off in the survivor auction. Be like, this is the tree stump that so and so was sitting on when they got voted out. People would
That'd
use
go for a lot of money.
yeah,
That's a smart idea. Next week, we'll have
survivor.
to see what
Yep.
they sit on. Because it
Take
could, I
notes.
guess, be
Survivor
plastic.
production.
Yeah. Could still be plastic, but you'd still have to make more stumps to sit on.
Yes. Yes you would.
So Dee gets voted out. She is the last winner standing. Last one now gone here. I feel like it's maybe bad for Coach Jonathan and then by proxy the honor integrity people to vote Dee out and have Dee be the mayor of Ponderosa. Because I feel like a lot of times after the season, we always hear that the mayor of Ponderosa really sets the tone for how people, once they're eliminated from the game, like view the game, how they want to vote for the winner. Like the mayor has a lot of sway, I feel like usually.
I feel like that's true, but I also feel like the people who would vote for the Honor Integrity Alliance, so basically the other Honor Integrity people, like probably aren't going to be changing their mind just because Dee like told them to. I feel like if they want to vote for their Honor Integrity buddies, they will vote for their Honor Integrity buddies regardless of what Dee tells them. Like I don't really see them being able to be manipulated into like being like, actually, I'm going to not honor my alliance and not vote for this person in my alliance to win the game.
That's true. Then I feel like what we just talked about, how there's really only 5 of them, then none of them will ever win. Because if it's an 11-person jury, all of you, all five would never be there. Max would be four if you eliminate two other honor integrity people. Like it's not a final three, all of them.
But it's not
So
like you would be guaranteed the other honor integrity people, but you could potentially sway other people beyond just the guaranteed votes.
that's true. I feel like certain people could and certain people could not. I feel like Coach Jonathan probably could not sway other people. Stephanie probably could. I'd say Chrissy probably not, given that Chrissy and like Tiffany and Dee were fighting.
Yeah. I also feel like from what I remember of Chrissy at the HVHVH final tribal council, she was like not that great of an arguer for herself. Like I think in the Heroes, Healers, Hustlers final tribal, a lot of people did genuinely go in undecided and decided towards Ben because of his final tribal performance. But that is my memory of the situation, which may be inaccurate.
Yeah, like it seems like the honor integrity people are rubbing the others the wrong way that it just won't. I feel like certain people might be drawing dead already.
Yeah. But there's also time to change course. They do have a lot of, well, not a lot of time. They do have time. So maybe if they can, course correct.
That's true. Except next week, we might need to skip. I was like, if it really is Thai Destinies a la Survivor South Africa, I don't think I can watch. I'm like, Alyssa and I recapped Survivor South Africa. We've got a podcast episode on this channel when they did the Thai Destiny twist. And I cannot watch this again. Like, it's so bad.
I feel like on our Survivor SA podcast, we said something to the effect of like, oh, thank goodness they never have done this on like US Survivor. Because I hope that it's not Thai Destinies.
It would be so terrible. And it's like the little blurb that they put out talking about like the caption for the episode. A lot of people are thinking it might be like linked together and then one person gets eliminated, your partner gets eliminated too. We know that they have to go into the challenge as pairs, which we have seen before where it's like, okay, you go in as pairs, like the final three pairs, like get to play for individual immunity, but it's separated and it's just individual. So it's like, okay, do I pick a partner that is strong, but then they might beat me in the individual portion? Do I pick a partner that I like in case? I mean, I feel like you always have to pick someone that you don't like. But then if it is tied destiny, you want to pick someone maybe you don't like, someone on the opposite alliance, so then you would have more shield and you won't get voted out. If you got two people in the same alliance, you'd be like, let's vote them both out. Easy.
Yeah. So I I don't know what the alternate explanation could be other than that it is Thai Destinies, but I'm mad about it.
We have to rage quit. I hope it's just like pick a person and then you compete in pairs and then the final stage of the challenge is individual. Or maybe it's like what, 14 people? There's 13 left, so you can't even do two teams of seven.
No.
13 people, but then one person won't have a partner.
13 people, and then the last person goes to exile.
Lucky them. I really hope if they take Tide Destinies, like that's like so bad. Because then it's just like randomness. It's not even, I guess you could say it's strategy of who you pick as your partner, but it's just making Survivor too random, too luck based.
Yeah, I would hate it if like I ended up getting out because I tied my destiny to the wrong person.
Yeah, but maybe with the idol, like could it save both of you? So Rizzo's pair and Ozzy's pair are safe. Then Aubrey would wish she kept that idol.
Yeah, that would. I'm not sure how I would feel about that as far as like making idols twice as powerful, though.
Ah, maybe this is why Suri is crying in the preview.
What, because idols are too powerful?
Yeah, she's gonna get Tide Destinied out of the game.
Let's not put that energy into the universe.
Yeah, let's hope that it is just pairs that will then compete for individual immunity and we can have a 13-person vote. Let's go with that.
Yes, we're going to hope for that.
Yay! Good energy, good vibes out into the universe. Let us know in the comments down below what you thought of this episode. Do you like the Suri Rizzo Aussie alliance? Do you think that Coach should have been voted out here over D, or do you think that Coach should be brought to the end or maybe eliminated soon? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will see